Hi everyone, welcome to Dr. Yang classes. Today we are going to study national differences in political, economic, and legal systems. So let's start with the political system. What exactly is political system? By definition, political system refers to the system of politics and government. In general, political system can be assessed or categorized by two dimensions. The first dimension is the degree to which the country emphasizes collectivism as opposed to individualism. The second dimension is the degree to which the country is democratic or totalitarian. Let's discuss these two dimensions in detail. As mentioned in last slide, the first dimension is collectivism versus individualism. So what is collectivism? In general, collectivism stresses the primacy of collective goals over individual goals. Also, collectivism claims needs of society as a whole are generally viewed as being more important than individual freedom. In other words, it aims to benefit society as a whole rather than individuals. On the other side, the individualism has a completely opposite standing. Individualism refers to the philosophy that the individual should have freedom in his own economic and political pursuits, and the interests of the individual should take precedence over the interests of the state. Now you can feel the differences between individualism and collectivism, right? Okay, the second dimension to assess political system is democracy versus totalitarianism. By definition, democracy is a political system in which government leaders are elected directly by a wide participation of the people or by their representatives. Please keep in mind that democracy is usually associated with individualism. Originally, pure democracy is based on the belief that citizens should be directly involved in decision-making. However, most modern democratic countries practice representative democracy, where citizens periodically elect individuals to represent them. Here are four major features of democracy. First, freedom of expression. This is a constitutional right in most democracies. Freedom of expression ideally grants the right to voice opinions freely and without fear of punishment. The second feature of democracy is the periodic election. Each elected representative serves for only a limited period of time. It's not a permanent position. In the US, the longest period to serve as the president is 8 years. Third, full civil and property rights. As we know, civil rights include freedom of speech, freedom to organize political parties, and the right to a fair trial. Property rights are the privileges and the responsibilities of owners of property, such as your homes, cars, businesses, and so forth. The last feature of democracy is minority rights. In theory, democracies try to preserve peaceful coexistence among groups of people with diverse cultural, ethnic, and racial backgrounds. Ideally, the same rights and privileges extend legally to each group, no matter how few its members. In the opposite side of democracy, totalitarianism refers to a form of government in which one person or political party exercises absolute control over all spheres of human life and prohibits opposing political parties. In general, totalitarian governments tend to share three features. First, imposed authority, which refers an individual or group forms the political system without the explicit or implicit approval of the people. Leaders often acquire to retain power through military force or fraudulent elections. In some cases, they come to power through legitimate means, but then remain in office after the terms expire. Second, lack of constitutional guarantee, which means they limit, abuse, or reject concepts such as freedom of expression, periodically hold elections, guaranteed civil and property rights, and minority rights. Third, restricted participation. It means political representation is limited to parties sympathetic to the governments or to those who pose no credible threat. In most cases, political opposition is completely banned and political dissidents are severely punished. In the current world, there are three major forms of totalitarianism. The first form of totalitarianism is theoretical totalitarianism, which can be found in states where political power is monopolized by a party, group, or individual that governs according to religious principles. Iran is a prominent example of theoretical totalitarianism. The second form of totalitarianism is triple totalitarianism, which can be found in states where a political party that represents the interest of a particular tribe monopolizes the power. Due to the military conflicts among many different tribes, the political system of some African nations can be considered as a tribal totalitarianism. The third form of totalitarianism is a right-wing totalitarianism, which refers states permit some individual economic freedom, but restrict individual political freedom. That's all we need to know about totalitarianism. We should understand a country's political system influences its economic system, and the political ideology and the economic system are closely connected. To illustrate, in general, countries that stress individual goals are likely to have market-based economies. On the other side, in countries where state ownership is common, collective goals are dominant. Before we analyze the economic system, let's first understand the definition of economic systems. Economic systems refers to a country's structure and processes that it uses to allocate its resources and conduct its commercial activities. There are three major types of economic systems in the world. The first type of economic system are market economies, which refers all productive activities are privately owned and the production is determined by the interaction of supply and demand. Within market economies, government encourages free and fair competition between private producers and play a minimal role in the marketplace. The second type of economic system are command economies or central planned economies. It refers that government plans the goods and services that the country produces, the quantity that is produced, and the prices at which they are sold. Command economies have two major features. First, all businesses are state-owned, and the governments allocate the resources for the good of society. Second, because there are little incentives to control costs and to be more efficient, command economies trend to stagnate. Soviet Union and North Korea were good examples of command economies. Between market economies and command economies, there is another type of economies called mixed economies. It refers certain sectors of the economy are left to private ownership and free market mechanisms, while other sectors have significant state ownership and government planning. Governments tend to own firms that are considered important to national security, such as national defense, transportation, energy industries, etc. After we understand the three types of economic systems, we can arrange national economies on a horizontal scale that is anchored by two extremes. At one end of the scale is a theoretical, pure central planned economy. At the other end is a theoretical, pure market economy. And in between is a mixed economy. From this scale, we can tell there's no country located in both extreme ends. All countries are located somewhere in the middle. As you can see, the US is the country most close to pure market economy. North Korea and Cuba are in the other end. Please note that the countries located in the left side, firms' connections with government are very critical for firms because governments in those countries still control the vast majority of resources, which include natural resources and administrative power. So we already covered the political system and economic system. Now let's talk about the legal system. Legal system, by definition, refers to the rules that regulate behavior along with the processes by which the laws are enforced and through which redress for grievances is obtained. The legal system in a country is influenced by the prevailing political system. For example, totalitarian governments tend to favor public ownership of economic resources and enact laws limiting entrepreneurial behavior. By contrast, democracies tend to encourage entrepreneurial activity and protect business with strong property right laws. Legal systems are important for business because they define how business transactions are executed and identify the rights and obligations of parties involved in business transactions. There are three major legal systems in the world. The common law system is based on tradition, precedent, and customs. Judges in the common law system have the power to interpret the law so that it applies to the unique circumstances of an individual case. In turn, each new interpretation sets a precedent that may be followed in future cases. From this point of view, it gives a common law system a degree of flexibility. The second type of a legal system is called the civil law system. It's based on a detailed set of written rules and statutes that constitute a legal code. It can be less adversarial than common law because the legal code defines all obligations, responsibilities, and privileges of the parties to a contract. In the common system, judges have power to interpret the law. In the civil law system, judges only have the power to apply the law. Besides common law and civil law, there's another type of a legal system called theocratic law, which is based on religious teachings. Please keep in mind that firms operating in countries with theocratic legal system must be sensitive to local values and beliefs. They must evaluate their activities, including hire practices and investment policies, to ensure compliance with the law, local values and beliefs. Islamic law is the most widely practiced theocratic law system today in the world. Here's the map to show the legal system in the world. From the map, we can see the civil law system is applied most widely in the world. The majority of Europe, South American, and some Asian countries are applying civil law system. Also, there are many countries apply common law system, such as the United States, UK, Australia, Canada, etc. In addition, as you can see, many Middle East countries apply theocratic law system, to be specific, the Islamic law. Alright, that's all for today's topic. Thank you for watching this video.